All right, so what we're looking at in this last scenario is the equation is given to us in what we call general form. Everything's all jumbled up. When we look at that, we cannot automatically tell what the center and the radius are, which is essential to us being able to do anything with these circles. We also can't solve explicitly for y because we've got y squared and a linear y to the first power. So we're going to have to take this from this general form and put it in standard form. Well, to do that, we're going to have to complete the square with both our x and our y term. Now, here's the good thing. We looked at some complicated examples of completing the square when we did that earlier in the semester. Bless you. For the most part, most of these are going to stay pretty simple. We're going to stick with whole numbers. You don't have to worry about the fraction thing. You don't have to worry about factoring out a GCF and stuff like that. Okay, so it's pretty simple when it comes to completing the square, but I think we need a little bit of a refresher on that because it's been a while since we've done it. So let's look at number 11 here. Since we have two separate variables, we have x's and we have y's, we need to group them together with the ones that they have in common. So the x's need to go together. I need x squared plus the 26x. Leave ourselves a space for us to complete the square, to put that constant term that completes the square. Then pair the y's together, y squared minus 16y. Leave ourselves a space. That constant of 224 needs to go to the other side. So I'm going to subtract that from both sides. So my equation is equal to negative 224. Now, does it look a little bit more like the equation of a circle now? We're getting there. It's not quite there yet, but it does look more like the equation of a circle than it did when we started. It's equal to a negative number. Okay, the right side is supposed to be equal to r squared. Can r squared ever be negative? No, because we can't square a number and get a negative. So something's got to happen to that right side in order to fix this. Okay, so let's complete the square. Let's start with our x's. If you will recall, completing the square means we take that linear term, that 26, we divide it by 2, we get 13. We square 13, is that 169? Okay, so 169 completes the square. So we add it right there. We got to keep our equation balanced though, so if we add it to the left side, we also have to add it to the right side. We're going to do the exact same thing with our y's. We take that linear term, the negative 16 divided by 2, we get negative 8. When we square negative 8, we get positive 64. I don't care what your calculator tells you. If you don't put parentheses around it, then it's just doing what you're telling it to do, and it's going to stick a negative in front of it, but it's not supposed to have a negative. Any number squared is always positive. Okay, so we add 64 to both sides of our equation. The whole purpose of completing the square was so that we could factor these things. And every single time, remember how they turn out, it's always, for the first one would be x, it's the number that you squared. So it was positive 13 that we squared, so it's plus 13 squared. Plus, with our y's, we squared negative 8, so it's y minus 8 squared. And on the right side, we're just going to add all those numbers together. Negative 224 plus 169 plus 64, and we get 9. Okay, let's identify our center and our radius. So our center would be what? Negative 13, positive 8. When we pull those coordinates out, we change their signs. What's the radius equal to? 3. We got to take the square root of that number. Now, most of these examples that I'm getting ready to ask you to do will come out. They will be perfect squares on the right side, but not all of them will. Okay, not all of them will. So if it's not a perfect square, if you can reduce the square root, reduce it, or you can just represent it in decimal form. Okay, if it's not a perfect square, either reduce it or put it in decimal form. Okay, let's do one more to make sure we've got it, and then I'm going to make sure you have plenty of problems to practice this with. So number 12, x squared plus y squared minus 10x minus 22y plus 137 equals 0. So pair your x terms together, x squared minus 10x, leave a space. Pair your y terms together, y squared minus 22y, leave a space. Move that 137 to the other side. So it's equal to negative 137. Okay, complete the square. Divide the negative 10 by 2. We get negative 5. Negative 5 squared is positive 25. So we add 25 there. We add 25 to the other side of the equation. Complete the square with the y's. Negative 22 divided by 2 is negative 11. Negative 11 squared is positive 121. Add it there. Add it to the other side to keep our equation balanced. Okay, next step, factor. X minus 5 squared plus y minus 11 squared is equal to, add all those numbers up on the right side, negative 137 plus 25 plus 121. We get 90. Bless you. So the center of this circle, positive 5, positive 11, radius is again 3. So we've got the standard form, so we can identify those things, so then we can graph it. Okay. Any questions about completing the square twice here? Make it as methodical as possible. Do the same thing. Do the same steps in the same order every time, and that's going to help you to remember it a little bit better. Okay? Don't just jump here and there and everywhere. Do it the same way, the same time, every time.